This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Bikeworks HMB, your one-stop shop for bike service, sales, and rentals in Half Moon Bay, California. Whether you're on the mountain, road, or low on battery, Bikeworks HMB has your back. So come on down to 520 Kelly Street and come talk some shop with the boys. All right, I'm GT. Peace out. Enjoy this episode of the podcast.
Welcome back, guys. Today we are joined by my favorite middle school teacher, great dad and husband, ripping mountain biker and surfer, permit avoider, and the best chaperone out there, PJ Monica.
Hell yeah. Nailed it first try.
No.
First try. Best chaperone known to man.
Aged me straight off. That's rough.
All right, PJ. Well, we want to start from the beginning, and we want to hear, because obviously there's a generational thing about growing up on the coast. Each generation's different, but we want to hear about what it was like growing up in the small rural community of Half Moon Bay when you were younger.
Well, I was born in 71, so growing up in El Granada, it was really wide open. We had horses. It was wide open. People used to drink and drive with their kids on their laps, no seatbelts. It was kind of wild. It was a wild coastside that it was also very community based, where there wasn't a lot of people and everyone was on the same kind of perspective of what life should be like. And so if something happened, people were there for you. But coastside was fun as fuck. It was great. There wasn't a lot of laws. The beaches were wide open. You could four-wheel drive, ride dirt bikes. It was great. It was wonderful. It's kind of like, if you guys remember COVID on the coastside and rolling into town, that's what it was like in the 70s. I remember early enough, people didn't even know where Half Moon Bay was. They thought it was kind of like a poor man's agricultural town. The whole tourism thing didn't pick up yet. So it was just hardworking people doing their thing. And my dad, like a lot of other dads on the coast, were here because of the airlines. So a lot of dads moved here to work for United Airlines and whatever. So there was a lot of same-minded people. And it's kind of funny how a lot of my friends' dads and my dad used to party back in the day because it was so similar in that way. But
I never thought about that. But yeah, I had a grandpa that worked for United as well. There was probably a lot of people that back in the day all worked for the same company and just commuted from the same town. And 280 wasn't even a road at some point, right?
no, 280, according to my father-in-law, they used to go over in their vehicles when it was just dirt. Yeah,
That's cool.
could you imagine? He said, yeah, we'd do like 100 miles an hour and just pitch it sideways. 280
dirt road.
I mean, 280, how wide is that road,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so it was pretty wide open.
Wow.
And I can't remember the year it was, but I know that SFO used to divert flights to Half Moon Bay Airport. Do you remember any of that? I don't know how long. I don't know when the last time they did that was, but it wasn't often.
I don't remember hearing that one.
I remember
Okay.
hearing a story growing up that there was an emergency landing of a passenger airplane.
Yeah.
Like something actually leaving SFO, and then something happened and they had to land. And my dad was saying it was a huge deal. Like everybody lined the airport. They're just like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's crazy because you just missed the drag strip too, right? Like drag strip closed in like the 60s.
Yeah, it was. I missed that.
Yeah.
The drag strip stopped. I was young, but that was when Lower Point was just the crazy spot for 4th of July. It was packed. You couldn't find a parking spot. They'd have the hill climb going up. They'd have bombs going off, settling bombs. It was insane. It was unbelievable. People were riding up and down the streets on the beach on motorcycles. I remember seeing a diesel hill climb up to the top and whip it around. It was an insane time.
Was there no cops?
All the cops were people's uncles.
That's right.
They were the
Uncle
ones
Ted.
doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that Half Moon Bay has always been known for kind of a police presence. If you ever read any Hunter S. Thompson books, there's this book he wrote about riding with the Hells Angels in the late 60s, early 70s. And in his story, he talks about how they just fly through towns and tear places up and come to. And they said, as soon as they came through Pacifica and rolled down onto the coast, they all knew to just slow down, mellow, and just get through Half Moon Bay and then turn it back on as soon as you hit La Honda, and it was game back on.
Torch and pitchfork kind of town.
Yep. It's their, I was being at Dream Machines this past Sunday. It was pretty cool to walk and check out all the cars, but also just to imagine what the drag strip used to be like back in the day. Because that was the place my grandpa used to go, and everybody's grandpa used to go there. And I was just thinking what it would take to bring it back today, even just once a year. I don't know, and you're messing around with, you're playing with fire with that, right?
Yeah.
But holy shit, would it be one hell of an event here?
Yeah.
That would be the Coast Side's whole year. That
Well,
would
that's
be
it.
massive.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be Pumpkin Fest size because you think about like how many places have a drag strip.
Oh,
especially
an airport.
Well, and especially in California, you know, like it would draw people from the entire state.
Well,
if you did that.
And fun fact, the reason that the saying was like where world records are broken is because, well, other than the elevation, the engines run better at this elevation, but also it was slightly downhill of a drag strip. Yeah, very, very slightly.
Because the world's round, right?
All right, so moving on. Do you see like action sports? I mean, we know you're a big surfer, mountain biker. How does that play into, I mean, just stress relief and, you know, escaping your job and everything like that?
It's everything.
Yeah.
It's everything. I remember as a teacher about 4 years ago being in a staff meeting, and we had this professional development, and this woman is talking about stress and anger and how to relieve all that stuff. And she's going through this list of the typical things that they would suggest. And I raised my hand. I'm like, yeah, what about like adrenaline? And she's all, no. I was like, you are so fucking wrong.
She's like, no, scream into your pillow. I swear it works. Like,
yeah, that was one of the lists. Like, no, like getting on a mountain bike and scaring myself is so beneficial for my mental state.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I feel a majority of human beings should do. And I know it's tough because if you know you're not going to get killed, then there isn't the adrenaline, but people don't want to get killed. But the adrenaline rush of sports, action sports, mountain biking, that's what I look forward to. I think most of us do. That's why you kind of, it drives you to go out and do it.
Mm-hmm. And then if you had to pick mountain biking or surfing, one for the rest of your life, pick one, drop the other.
Well, I have to say I haven't been surfing much in the last, since my son was born, because surfing is so fickle where we live that if you've got an hour or two, you spend the majority of time driving up down the coast, looking, searching, too crowded, too small, too big, too windy. But mountain biking is just, you know, it's there.
The trails are always there. They're either dry or muddy.
Exactly. So I kind of fell out of surfing, but I have to say, no disrespect to the mountain bikers community, but surfing, looking into a barrel, and no disrespect to my wife, but if I could die and have one vision in my brain, it would be pulling into a barrel. I think that's just, it's the best thing in the world. It's incredible. So I think surfing, and just like mountain biking, you're interacting with nature. And I think that's another aspect that helps calm the nerves and put you back in the perspective of being a happy individual, is interacting with nature. And it seems like surfing is even more so than biking, because that wave is generated and there's one wave and it's got your name on it. And when it comes, if you miss it or if you get it, it's like this mutual kind of thing.
No
With-
one else in the world is ever going to ride the wave that you rode.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
And a bunch of, everybody rides the trail that you ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
But not everybody builds it.
exactly.
A fun part.
Yeah.
And not everyone rides it the same.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
Point.
So getting back to it, I don't know, I guess you can do a brief answer or go into it if you want, but what did you want to be when you were growing up?
When I figured out what future had to be, I originally thought I wanted to be on a cruise ship. You know, those fucking cruise ship boys that ran around and didn't do much but got to go places.
Yeah.
I thought that was the dream.
Towel boy.
Yeah, exactly. But then I realized I hate boats and I'm claustrophobic.
The essentials.
the 8x10 bedroom wasn't going to cut it.
No, at the bottom of the boat, no. So
Yeah.
then that was out the door. And then I thought, oh, I'll be a fireman. And then I watched what firemen do on the coast side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to scrape people off the ground. I mean, I thought, you save people out of fires. And I'm sure firemen do that. But
Oh, yeah.
on the coast side, I think it's more of just car accidents, tourists, weekends. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't want that either.
Well,
So
you got to be able to like see gnarly shit, process it, go back to work,
Allegedly.
which is,
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
yeah, it's gnarly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then after that, I was just kind of whatever. Took me a while. I didn't know what I wanted to do.
So when did you end up at teaching?
Well, that was I didn't plan on it really, because I didn't plan on being a teacher. Growing up, I guess when I was younger, I was not the typical future teacher type. I remember 5th grade, I got suspended for throwing an orange at a diesel truck, breaking the front windshield.
With an orange?
Yeah, Elginota Elementary School.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I hid in the library, and the bus driver came in. I remember he like fit the whole door frame. I was hiding there with my friend Shane and Sean, and that guy. Yeah, he wanted to sue the school, and my mom had to come down and talk him out of it. So I got suspended then, and then it was a tough time. My parents were splitting, so 6th grade, it was a rough year too. I got suspended for throwing an apple at the yard duty's car. Sorry, this is John. And then, and Mr. Council saw me, and I think he wanted to beat me up. And then I got suspended a lot in 6th grade, and actually they told me to leave the last 2 weeks of school. I won't go into that one. So yeah, 6th grade was that. I got sent away 7th grade to my aunt's house in Boston, where I went to this really posh school. It was called Beaver Country Day.
Wow.
I know. I wish I had sweatshirts.
That's where they taught you to learn how to love fruit again.
They just picked their 3 favorite words and were like,
That's it, Ricky.
Wait, what was it called? Because they would have said that in a Boston accent too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 7th grade I came back to Cooney in 8th grade. And I was better, but I think I got suspended once for the frog incident in science class. Sorry, Miss Micheloni.
Oh, she was great.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
What's funny is I still see teachers. I don't know if you guys do, but I still see teachers as an adult, and I have to apologize to them. Like, I saw her. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I was such an idiot. I apologize. And then, I got. When I was going to go to Half Moon Bay High School, my mom and I were in the orientation day, and I'll never forget this. We were sitting there, and they're going through the process of telling us about the school. And I had an older brother who was badass and was into doing illegal badass things. And at the end of the orientation night, two teachers looked over at me and my mom. And one teacher looked at the other one and was like, "Oh my God, no, not another Monica." And I knew, my mom and I looked at each other, and I'm thinking, I'm screwed. I'm never going to get a fair shake because of my older brother. So thanks to sports, I got into Sarah for a discounted price and went to Sarah. And in school there, you think teachers get inspired by teachers, and I didn't. I saw more of teachers being just so wrong, so on the awful side of things. I mean, at Sarah High School, it's a Catholic all-boys school, and it was nothing but sports and fighting every day. And I remember being in a religion class, and there was this Buddhist kid in the class, Noah, and he asked this question, which I thought was relevant to the teacher, and the teacher just laid into him because it wasn't the religion we were supposed to follow. And I always thought that was fucked up.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not what teachers are supposed to do. And then in math class, algebra, yeah, I talked a lot, whatever. But I had a teacher pull out his knife. He's like, if you don't shut up, I'm going to take your lips. I'm going to stick them like this. I'm going to drive this knife right between your lips.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so it was just constant punishment, consequence, fear, shut the hell up kind of thing throughout my academic life.
You spent all 4 years there?
I did. If it wasn't for football, I wouldn't have made it.
What position did you play?
Freshman year when we tried out, there was 150 kids trying out for the football team.
Jeez.
It was insane. Yeah, when you hear about, sports in those private schools, it's for real. Like I left Half Moon Bay thinking, oh yeah, okay, I'm pretty athletic. And you get there and you realize everybody's athletic. Everybody wants it. It's another level. It's insane. And the number of kids, like on the coast side, you play with your buddies pretty much your whole time, which
You're struggling to get numbers to make a team. You're like recruiting random people.
yeah.
You're at school. You're like, do you want to play football? We need like 4 more guys for a team.
That happened to me. That's how I
They're
played
like,
freshman
what's
year.
football?
Yeah. I had never watched football. I played my freshman year because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in your life, Gavin, by playing with your friends, you get this kind of camaraderie that makes you so efficient, so good. But at Sarah, it was just dog eat dog. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I played wide receiver, I played defensive back, and I also kicked. So I was on the field
Stud.
the whole
Yeah.
time. Yeah, and I played all 4 years. It was good. I made all league. So senior year, I got to play with Mark Medina because he brought in all the teams from around here to play like
The All-Star game.
the
basically.
All-Star. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun. It was good, but yeah, sports kept me in line.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were tight. Like they would threaten, like I'm going to call the coaches.
Yeah.
They would call your house Friday night if there was a Saturday morning game, and make sure you were.
Which for Sarah, you guys kind of had a lot. You didn't have lights, right? So
no.
was it primarily Saturday games?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Unless we played somewhere else, like St. Francis. Holy, that place.
That's your rival.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was my senior year. We won all of our games, and we lost to St. Francis by just one touchdown. That pisses me off to this day.
You play any of the sports there?
No, just football.
Football.
Yeah, that was my love.
Yeah.
But anyway,
What year were you at, Sarah?
I graduated in '90, so I was a couple years before Brady.
That was my next question.
Yeah, I was a couple years before Brady, and I was a couple years, or what's his name? Baseball guy, druggy guy,
Oh.
Barry Bonds. Oh yeah, that guy.
Allegedly,
Yeah,
okay.
Allegedly.
Well, when did Tom Brady go?
You went to Sarah.
Yeah, when?
Oh, right after PJ.
I
think he was there.
PJ actually recruited him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you owe me.
Yeah. This is kind of off topic, but more back to the teaching and how you got there. But I just had a random question about teaching in general. Do you have any good stories of catching any kids do anything bad at school?
Wow. Well, I think I want to talk about being a substitute teacher. When I was a sub for about 10 years as I went through college, it was a great gig because you'd get paid at that time it was like $120 a day, and you could decline it if the surf was good. So you didn't have to go to work if you wanted to do something else. And you didn't have to do anything other than crowd control. And so my first day of sub, I covered kindergarten. I'm like, no problem. Like, it was the scariest moment of my life. I never wanted to go back. I never wanted 7 little screaming little kids grabbing my hands, wanting me to, I don't know. I was like, get me the hell out of this place. So then I started subbing at the high school, and then I realized the other animal was, and I was young at the time. I still had hair. And at the time, I'd go to school, and after school, I'd go down and check the waves. I'd have high school kids, hey, what's up, Monica? You want to smoke a bowl? Like, no, I don't want to smoke a bowl.
That's my bad.
Yeah. Was that you?
Yeah, I think it was. I threw an orange at you, too.
You missed me, bitch. No, man. Subbing is, I always equated to like being a piñata. Like you walk in and everybody in that room wants nothing more than to ruin your day. Yeah. And it's just game on. And I've had kids walk in and spray fire extinguishers into the class, into the people.
Once again, I'm sorry.
I was covering PE at Cunha. This was early too. This is when I thought I'd get fired, even though I didn't really have a job. There were 2 boys fighting, and it got ugly to where I looked, they're fighting, and this is when Mr. Clement was there. And one kid picked up a rock and was coming at the other kid like I was going to hit him in the head with this rock.
Jeez.
And by then there was this crowd of kids around him, and I stepped in to try and stop it. And I was walking up, and all of a sudden some kid comes in from behind me. So I thought he's going to jump me. I don't know. I'm a sub. So I turn around and I just front kick this kid right in his stomach, hip area, and he drops. And I turn around and I grab the kid with the rock, and I move in and I grab both the kids by their necks. I mean, granted, they're middle school. So I grab them by their necks and hold them down while I'm looking at behind me, seeing if this kid's going to come get me. And I felt so bad because the kid that was coming in to stop the fight.
To help you.
Putting this kid down.
Yeah, but you didn't know.
I didn't know.
Like that's yeah.
No, I didn't know. So yeah, there's so many, you never know. Like every day as a sub, you walk into it, it's you never know what you're gonna get. I've had girls standing outside the door asking me if I want to go to lunch with them. Then after school, I've had their boyfriends want to fight me because of their girls asking me. Like you said, that was when I was young.
Yeah.
But subbing it's insane. It's brutal.
Yeah.
So,
well, I remember when you took over for Miss O'Connor Brown when she got pregnant.
Yep.
And I think Dave was also in that class.
Yep.
Yeah, you picked up for her when she went on maternity leave? Yeah.
Yep.
And I remember, you get a sub, you think, the day's off. This is awesome. We're going to watch a movie.
Yep.
Like, fuck this guy, dude. Not with you.
Yeah.
Not with you.
no, I got pinata.
But when you showed up, I was like, what's up, PJ? I remember I'd call you PJ, and then you had to stop me one time. You're like, look, it's cool outside of school, but here it's Mr. Monica, okay? I was like, all right, PJ. Okay.
See, and at the same time, I didn't know you outside of school. I was just middle school student, and you're cool long-term sub. And you got even cooler when you showed up with your bike. And you had a sick bike. At the time, it was that Black Yeti, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, and I was a kid that was like, I loved bikes at the time, but I didn't have a cool bike and didn't see super cool bikes very often. And yeah, that was epic.
And I remember, I don't know how many years ago that was, but that was when the pump track.
Yeah.
Are you an Impink?
Yeah.
So your dad.
Yeah.
he had that piece of property, right?
We used to, yeah.
Right by Picasso.
Right.
Yeah.
Picasso.
He was super influential in that one because we were looking to try and get a pump track made.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
So I remember telling the class, and you were super excited about it. And we went to a Granada Sanitary District meeting, and your dad was there. I remember saying like, "Hey, the kids, this would be great for the kids. Get a bump track. Everyone can be riding. It's good for everybody." And your dad was there saying, "Yeah, we'll do it on the property." And then I think I had like a Tommy Rice or somebody else saying, "Yeah, we'll donate dirt. We'll move dirt around." So pretty much in the like,
Oh, yeah.
no time at all, we had this. Everyone on the coast side, old school style, was like, "Yeah, we got this. Let's build this. Let's do this."
Yep.
And Granada Sanitary District was like, permit, and then everything fell.
That was like the one time I remember my dad being super like community based and like trying to like get something pushed through, but that wasn't like for the family, you know?
I remember your dad trying to get a skate park on that property as well.
Tried to do everything
Yeah.
because we couldn't build there. So he was like, let's do something. We rode dirt bikes there for years. It was just like,
I remember riding dirt bikes out there. Yeah.
let's just do something for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause we were young. I was probably in maybe middle or high school, I think, at the time, probably. Yeah, it was cool.
That's a shame. That's cool that your dad was willing to do that.
Yeah.
Switching it up a bit, but I know that you spent quite a few years working at Duarte's in Pescadero, which, you know, I think it's still a cool establishment. I think it was definitely probably a lot cooler back in the day. I don't know. Give us a brief overview on Duarte's back in the day, and I don't know, maybe a good story from it.
Well, first I got to say that Duarte's are incredible people. The whole family, they're so special. And Pescadero, I've just got it's like nothing else. It's so rad down there. It's such a great place. And I think I was the first male waiter they ever had at Duarte's. And I used to go in there after surfing and just eat the place to the ground. I'd eat like apricot pie in a bowl with ice cream and chocolate sauce. My eyes would be all glazed and try and wait tables. And then I'd just eat steak. And back then they were so nice. They just let you eat whatever you wanted. So I'd order all this food, and it was an incredible spot. And then Byron, my good friend, ended up working as a bartender. And my other good friend, Eric, used to come in, and there was like, we'd always take lemon drop shots. And so we'd do that, and it would get crazy. And actually one time when I was waiting tables, there's one little room that you shut, like this little door, this little slider thing, and there'd be like 3 tables in there. And it was kind of slow. So I go in, like, hey, what's up? And then there's this 4-top young 2 couples. I go get their drinks, and I come back and the door's shut. So I'm like, okay. And I open the door, and they're all in their underwear, like G-string bras, like sitting in their underwear at the tables. And I was like, what? What?
It's kind of like the Harbor Bar.
It's like Peaky Blinders at the bar, the local bar, the Garrison. When they have that private room, and it's where all this stuff actually like happens.
Yeah, it was.
How old were you when you were working there? Were you like college age, or was that?
Yeah, I was in my young 20s. That was when I first met my future wife, and we were living in Lomamar, and rent was $250.
Oh my god!
And I could make that in 2 nights, or a night if it was good, but 2 nights. And so we just chill out in the redwoods and peek around, and
Plus the food was free.
the food was
Like he's eating everything, but damn, is he a good waiter?
And I'm sorry, everybody else that worked there after me. I think they changed that. Not that. Like, no more New York steaks, no more ahi tuna, you dumbass.
There's a reason for every rule.
Yeah, but it was a great place. You know, Christmas time, they'd have big old dinners and raging in the bar, and people would fight all the time. But I mean, if you go in there and look, you could still see like bullet holes in the bar from, I don't know, 80 years ago or something. It's a legit old school place.
Famous people eat there too. I ran into Alan Jackson, the country singer there, like in 2010. He was
That's
just
pretty cool.
For the artichoke soup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went in on Tracy Chapman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's cool. She's actually incredible. She used to come to Ace and buy dirt all the time.
Really?
Like if
What
you
do you-
didn't,
What do you have to say, PJ?
Yeah.
Oh, she was not nice.
if you say hi Tracy, she doesn't like you. But if
No.
you're like, oh hey man, nice to see you. Know how are you?
She
You know,
was
yeah.
mean.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I went it on Joan Baez. She was super cool. Went it on Neil Young a bunch. He was always he's like he could be sitting here right now with us and
Yeah.
having a good time.
Yeah, because you knew Neil somewhat personally outside of Duarte's, right? Because of your best friend, I'm assuming, growing up, Eric
Yeah.
Markegard.
Yeah,
His father was the caretaker on Broken Arrow Ranch.
yeah,
So you spent a lot of time around Neil Young,
yeah,
and
yeah. It was
I'm sure it
fun.
was fun when he would come in to your place of work at the time.
Yeah, my favorite thing was watching him. You'd see him come into town in his Cadillac, and he'd be wearing jeans and a flannel and a hat, and he'd walk down Main Street, and I just see him and think, how many people look down upon this older dude in jeans and a flannel when he's got so much influence worldwide, and he's such a talented individual, and he's worth so much money. And in this new kind of yuppie town, they look at him like, oh, yeah. And I was in a movie, Neil Young's movie.
No way.
I was an FBI agent.
Hell yeah. What's that movie called?
Greendale.
Greendale. All right,
Yeah,
you
so
were-
it's Yeah, I shot a cat.
What?
Psycho.
Wait, what'd you do in the movie?
Wait, hold on.
What are you talking about?
PETA. No animals were harmed in the making of Greendale.
You haven't? Oh, this is a great. Yeah,
I have not seen Greendale.
Oh, it's great.
I only watched it because you told me about it. It's on YouTube.
Okay.
If you get a second, you should check it out. It's the
Okay.
premiere at the stage when you were saying you guys got in trouble because he was trying to call you out on stage or something.
Oh yeah, me and Aaron, you guys were on the rafters at the
Yeah.
Fox Theater, just
Yeah.
way up there laughing. Just
Oh my.
Dude, we were in Downeyville sitting around the campfire, and I was talking to you about Neil Young, and you told me that story. And then as soon as I think I was at the bar, because that's the only place you get service in Downeyville.
That's
I looked it up, and I started watching, and I was like, no way, this is actually the premiere that he was telling the story about.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
All right,
Yeah.
everyone's homework. Go home, watch that movie.
Yeah.
We'll report
Yeah.
back next week.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a good one.
Oh
That's
man,
awesome.
that's crazy. So you spent a lot of time in college.
Whew. So yeah, I went to CSM,
Okay.
which is a local community college, and I got to say, for people that judge those things, you're wrong. I went CSM, I went San Francisco State, I went to online colleges through San Diego, through Arizona. Then eventually went to Notre Dame, and it doesn't matter where you go. You've got teachers that are mediocre that teach little, and then you've got other ones. And at CSM, I had a couple teachers that were extraordinary. And I'm glad that I had that opportunity, because then when you spend the money that I did to get a teaching credential and eventually a master's of education through Notre Dame, nothing against Notre Dame, but they're just, it's all about desire and passion within a teacher. So yeah, I went CSM 2 years, took time off, went to SF State, got a degree in environmental resource management. I wanted to be like a nature nugget, like a state park worker.
Yeah.
You are at heart.
Yeah. But then I realized there's no pay in that, so I didn't want to do that. So then I got a job in this environmental firm, and I realized that all they do is take the last month's impact report and change a couple numbers and charge like thousands of dollars on it's and I didn't like that either, so I bailed and then went back and got a teaching credential. I wanted to teach social studies. They wouldn't. Dude, social studies teachers don't fucking leave.
Yeah.
All the other teachers, they like recycle in and out. Social
Yeah.
studies are like, nope.
Yeah.
So I waited. And
Lifetime.
yeah. So I was like, okay, well, I want to teach in my community. So they said, oh, special ed's open. Okay. So I went back, got another teaching credential, and now I'm ending my 13 years of SPED. And next year, I'll be teaching all social studies because Tom Cox, thank you, finally is retiring.
Oh my God.
Nice.
After what, like
Cheers to him.
like 40 years?
Seriously.
That's insane.
Yeah. I think it was his first job.
Wow.
Wow.
And he still looks 25.
He does. He's
Yeah.
got hair.
He was
Yeah.
my basketball coach in Cunha
Really?
1 year. Yeah.
Oh.
I'll never forget because we were playing against, I can't remember who we were playing against, but we were at home.
Was that wasn't 6th grade, was it?
That would have been 7th grade, I think.
Okay.
He was in between,
I was only on A team 6th grade.
I don't know who was 18th. I think Campbell did 6th and 8th, and then
Okay.
Cox was 7th.
Okay.
I'll never forget him being my coach because I laid out for a loose ball. I just went for it, and this kid, his legs were like right there. And when I dove for the ball, I hit his legs, and he sat
Oh.
on the back of my head and slammed my head into the ground. And you have adrenaline. I pop back up. I'm running around trying to make a play, and then all of a sudden, you can kind of feel when you get a shiner, it starts swelling up,
Yeah.
and then your vision starts to kind of go. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? Still playing. It took like 2 minutes, and then I go, I couldn't see out of this eye. And I'm like, I go over to the bench. It's like a fast break play. I think Sam or like Jack Wilson are doing something down on the other court. I go, what is going on right here to Mr. Cox? And he goes, holy shit. He goes, time out. Like that. I had my eyebrows swollen over. And then after the game, he goes up to my mom or my dad. He goes, you got to take this kid to the hospital. And my mom or my dad, I can't remember who it was like, yeah, okay. I went home. They gave me a bag of peas. I was just laid up. I was like, oh my God.
Here's an ibuprofen. Go deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So some of those early teachers that you had, I mean, were you gonna be a teacher already when you were going to CSM, or did you have other ideas? You wanted to be something environmental, right?
Yeah, I didn't think about teaching until I was already through. I got my environmental resource management degree. Then after that, I realized I wanted to do something else. So I got into subbing again. I was already doing it, but I got back into it again. And then I realized I don't like adults. I like that aged individual. And I realized I narrowed it down by spanning from scary kindergartners to
Dickhead high school.
Daryl high school kids
Yeah.
throwing oranges at my car and offering me alcohol and drugs. I like
David.
Yeah. He's like,
Nice
pusher.
Nice bite. Want to go to lunch? Did some of those early teachers kind of transform the way that you figured you would eventually end up teaching?
To be honest, I think I'm different from most teachers because I got into it because I didn't like what happened to me.
Yeah.
And I wish, like, I remember when I was in SF State and I got my report card and it said Dean's List. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm so busted. Because that's all I'd ever known was in trouble. And I'm like, oh, Dean's List. Fuck. And then I realized that it was because of my grades. And that's where I realized I'm different from, I think, a lot of other teachers because I didn't have that aspiration to be like so-and-so teacher because he did this to, I think it was more of so many kids needed something that I didn't get. And so when I teach in a way where I offer them life skills and strategies and things. Because as soon as I was after CSM, it clicked. Like, school is a game. And I realized I knew how to play the game all of a sudden. And I wish someone would have shown me a couple little tricks through the way, and nobody ever does. And so that's how I teach, is I help them figure out a couple things, how to study, just realize it's not so scary and approach it that way, because that's what I wish I had. Because Cunha, I got D's and C's. You know, my favorite class was lunch and PE and shop.
Yeah.
And that's what led me to starting the bike class, is because I realized the only part of the day that I felt worthy, confident, was when I was working with my hands in the bike class, or I'm sorry, in shop class with Mr. Silva. And you guys, did you have Mr. Silva?
I had Mr. Silva.
We had Santoni.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in Tony.
So I cut my finger and he just rubbed sawdust in it.
Did he yell at you too?
Fine. Yeah. Yeah. He didn't. He had 2 volumes and it was loud or off. He was either yelling or he wasn't talking.
Yeah.
And it was almost scarier when he wasn't talking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
talk about local legend.
That guy was incredible.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the process behind you? Because you invented or developed that bike class at Cunha. It wasn't there before you, but you came up with the idea, you pitched it, and you got it. So can you tell us a little bit more about that process?
Sure. So I started a bike club at school, and it was at lunch, and I had students showing up, and I started this thing where there was this kind of share parts with other people, and I created this little list, and you'd get on the list and share if you had a seat and I needed it, whatever else, this parts kind of swap. And then we'd go in, and I had bikes donated from the San Mateo County Sheriffs. They donated actually like 30 bikes.
Whoa.
And they were all used. I guess they get them from people stealing them and leaving at bus stops and train stops. So they dumped, it was really cool. Hats off to the cops. They showed up with this big, huge van and dropped 30 bikes and helmets to support this club. And then it was going so well, and I realized that at high school, it's all about cars. And at Cunha, I figured it's kind of a little niche where kids can do things, and that's their world, is biking. And so the counselor's like, hey, we need a new elective. Let's do something new. I said, hey, I'll do a bike class. So I created this curriculum, and they accepted it. And so it's been, I think, 5-6 years of a bike class where I get to teach kids. You know, I know some people think, oh, you're going to get to teach them all kinds of stuff, but you know, there are some kids that don't know how to ride a bike.
Yeah.
And then in the same class, you got a kid that could do a backflip on a bike. So you got to kind of, as a teacher, include everybody. And that's the hard part with that class. But I figured I'd kind of incorporate kind of art around it, to drawing things and learning about parts of bikes and the tools. I have them learn about the price of a tool, what it's used for. I don't allow them to say that a 14 millimeter wrench is to tighten stuff. Well, what stuff?
Yeah.
A screw, or what is it? Like, be specific. Yeah. So they're learning a lot of different things.
Well, and I think one of the coolest things about it is the amount of kids that don't get exposure to just like doing anything with their hands, really. And I mean, you're talking about righty lefty, you know, like righty tighty, lefty loosey, like that sort of thing that like too many kids don't have any experience with that, and they might be doing it for the first time in your class. And even, I mean, working here at the bike shop, we have people all the time that come in where they don't know how to fix a flat, and I completely understand the convenience of, you know, we charge $21 for tube and labor combined to fix a flat, so it's nothing crazy. If you don't have the time, don't want to deal with it, then, you know, for sure bring it in. But the amount of people that when we're doing it, they're like, do you think you could kind of show me how? And we're talking about people of all ages, all walks of life, that are looking to get some insight into how to do something themselves. And when you're installing that in these kids' minds at such a young age, like, that's huge. I mean, you're talking about 20 years down the line, let's just say they have a kid and their kid gets a flat tire on their bike. Like, they're like, I remember when PJ Monica taught me this, like, yeah, you know, I can do this, you know?
Yeah, and that's what I pitched. I mean, you can, sports kids, yeah, you're a football guy or a baseball guy, but eventually there's no more football or baseball unless you're in college or pro. Then what do you do? Or you get hurt. What do you do? Eventually, bikes are going to be there until you're 90. You can do that for your life.
Yeah.
So if you can change a flat tire, you got that for life.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting because so many kids these days, learning style, you know, there's auditory, visual, and kinesthetic, and more kids, probably because of, you know, the video and the phone thing, they learn visually, and in class, it's majority of you listen, sit there, you be quiet, you listen, and that's why I think I didn't do so well, because I'm more of a visual learner and kinesthetic learner. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think the bike class opens that up. And that's why shop class was such a great place too, because that's where my happy place was.
And with that being said, the same kid that can do a backflip on a bike can't necessarily change a flat tire,
Yeah. Yeah.
Good
right?
point.
Like
Yeah.
you're hitting all walks of or all difficulties in the sport, because I know, like when I was in middle school, I knew mentally how to change a tire, but at the time, my dad was like, "Oh, I'll do it." So I'd watch him. I knew how to do it, but I'd never done it.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing to know how to do it, but it's another thing to do it.
Yep.
Well, it's good basic skills too, because that kid might go and grow up and be able to fix a washing machine or something too at home that he doesn't have to call someone for too.
Yeah.
You know, it's just that basic skills that shop class kind of got me, as weird as that sounds, to where I'm at too.
Yeah.
I'm not gluing two pieces of something together, but it's, I definitely know how to turn a screwdriver.
It's life skills.
Yeah,
it's
and
huge.
that's the sad part, I think, about the coast side again, because we're like our own little world over here. We're different from everywhere else, and the shop class, shop doesn't exist anymore. Home ec doesn't exist anymore.
Damn.
And
Yeah,
remember, in home ec,
yeah,
they
that's
teach you
tough.
how to cook, how to
So
sew.
yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah,
Why-
it was great.
What was the turning point with that? Why'd they take those classes away? Those were the best classes. So what's in the shop room now?
It's called it's like a science advancement thing where it's a lot of hands-on stuff, but it doesn't use saws and drills. I mean,
Yeah.
it does a little bit, but it's more of just it's a neat class, don't get me wrong, but it's not teaching construction, it's not teaching how to be a carpenter, it's not teaching how to do that type of skill
With your hand.
with your hands. I mean, yeah, and then it's very science based, and then home ec is gone. And I think that's a huge loss because
Yeah.
I don't care. You could swipe all day long, get brain rot from watching TikTok, but eventually you got to make some food. And sad to say, parents aren't around much, so unless you want to eat and top ramen 24/7,
Yeah.
but
Plus, it was just like, apart from the whole learning aspect of that class, it was fun to just, okay, today we're gonna learn how to make a pie, whatever it was, and you get to eat the pie.
Yeah.
After.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You're
yeah,
you're
whole
in
class
you're
smells
in
great.
school making cookies and just getting stuffed with cookies.
Yeah.
Like how good is that?
yeah.
Who would have thought it would have paid off in the end?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I still know how to make a pizza.
So a bit of a transition here, but so yeah. What's up? Pee?
Yes, David.
Yeah.
Take the bathroom pass, Dave.
I forgot about
You
bathroom
have
pass.
3 minutes.
All right, we're back. Sorry if the camera dies. It's not, for some reason, it's not charging while we try to record. But anyways, PJ, I don't know when in your life this was, but I know that you traveled internationally.
Mhm.
And I just wanted to talk to you as to if you recommend people to go travel before they get settled in to a career or trying to figure out what they want to do as to a career.
Well, also, where did you travel? When was it?
Yeah.
How was it?
It's a loaded question.
Yeah.
Cover all the bases.
All right. So after I got my degree from SF State, my buddy and I, Obi Broughton, we both studied the same thing and said, let's take a trip. And so we went to this place in the city, and you can buy tickets, this open-ended ticket. And it was like, $1,400. And you could pick from, like, I don't know, 8 countries. And you can go starting from SFO to all these other countries and leave and go when you want for $1,400. It's like, yeah, hell yeah. So it was like this. Well, first off, it says SFO. Do you want to go to Hawaii or Fiji? Well, we'll take Fiji. So then we went to, in 1997, I got on a plane. That was right before the brutal El Nino storms. And I got on a plane and I went to Fiji for 2 or 3 weeks. Surfed. Crazy place. Fiji's like locals and Indians, and it's so just conflicting, but it's a great place. I was pissed because we went to surf
Cloud break.
Yeah. But you're not allowed to because it's owned by Americans. And I was on a boat with a bunch of English and Aussies. And we're driving up to it and like, yeah, let's go surf that. Like, we can't because Americans own it. You got to pay to surf there. And they're looking at me like they wanted to slit my throat.
Wow.
Anyway, so then I did itinerary was Fiji, New Zealand, Australia, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines, and out. And I was going with my friend Obi and 2 dudes. So we start our venture, and I got to say, traveling after all the college bullshit that I went through, traveling teaches you more about life and teaches you more about what you need to know than school in some instances. And I highly recommend, I wish we were like other countries that promote travel and vacation. Americans, we don't. Americans, it's kind of like, oh yeah, you just stay here, you go to Hawaii. Well, Hawaii is American. Like you got to go to a place where you see true. I went to Borneo actually. I separated from my friends and I traveled for about 4 or 5 months by myself, and I went to Borneo. And I remember going there and I saw people where they were washing their clothes literally in a river, and they were with their family members. And I thought, man, they're in there hanging out, talking, having friends or having conversations, and they're just friendly with each other. And here in America, we just throw some shit in the washing machine, press go, and then we go off. And you would think with that time, we'd be able to hang out with our family. But that's not what we do. And in those countries, they're out there washing their clothes against rocks in a river or whatever, and they're having conversation with their brothers and their sisters and their moms and dads. And that's so much.
It's so real.
It is.
It's yeah.
It's so much deeper, and you realize, wow, we have all these appliances and all these things, and you'd think with that time we'd take advantage of it, but we don't. It's dumb.
It's also what I noticed when I was traveling too, is the mundane things in everyday life is what they actually pride themselves on. And it changes your whole outlook when you're looking at things like, yes, we're more efficient, but I like as connected as some of the families that were when I was staying with them, I'm like, holy shit, I didn't even think that was a point of connection with my family that I could have.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because like you're saying, you throw it in, you forget about it, and then you go back, change it, and you go do something else. They're there. They're with each other. They're talking, whatever the hell they're doing. They're connecting. And it's cool because you just overlook that whole process being here.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe efficiency isn't the point of life, right?
Yeah. So
Also, real quick for people,
Brother.
also for people that don't know, where is Borneo?
Oh, fuck. So Borneo is in Southeast Asia, and it has the highest mountain, Mount Kinabalu. It's the highest mountain in Southeast Asia. And I left my friends because I wanted to travel on my own. And I know people think, oh, it's boring, or why don't you travel with... If you could travel by yourself, it's like nothing else in the world. It's the freest you will ever be. You don't have to ask anybody. You just do what you want. And so I was in Malaysia taking this train up along the peninsula, and I said, I heard this mountain in Borneo, and I heard they have headhunters there, and they got all this other kinds of stuff and orangutans. So I just booked a flight and went to Borneo. And so it's technically, I think, one of the largest islands in the world. It's kind of like a country. It is, but it's also like an island. And so I went there, and man, I was walking through the forest one day and by myself and on this trail, and I look up in the trees and there's these 2 orangutans. Holy shit, orangutans. They're up there cruising around. And so I got the bright idea, like I'd climb up the tree a little bit and shake it like, hey, I'm over here. And they're sort of up there like, I'm like, hey. And then all of a sudden, one of them notices me, and orangutans, like, dude, they're badass animals.
Yeah, they're gnarly.
Hell yeah. So they start doing like cartwheels down the tree vertically, hand, foot spins. And this one comes down to the ground. The other one wasn't sure of me. And he drops on the trail. And so I was like, whew. So he drops on the trail in front of me, and I sit down on the trail, and we're sitting literally to where we could touch each other. I sit in the trail, and there's an orangutan in front of me. And so I like put my hand out, and he kind of like touches my fingers. And I was like, holy shit. And and I pull out a coin out of my pocket, and I hold it in my hand. And he picks up the coin. He starts flipping it around his mouth. It's like, holy shit, this is cool. And so then he starts playing with my shoelaces, and he's pulling on. I'm like, wow, this is great. And then all of a sudden, the other orangutan wants a piece of the action, but maybe it's the girlfriend, boyfriend. I have no idea. So the other orangutan comes down, and then all of a sudden, the other orangutan comes up, like, oh. And he's looking at me, and I was like, oh shit. And so all of a sudden, it was like this clash of who's cool and who's not. So all of a sudden, the other orangutan comes up, and he's more aggressive, and he grabs my arm right around my wrist. And I was wearing a long sleeve shirt, and he grabs my arm. And so I'm like, oh, and I grab his, I don't know, hand, foot, I don't know what it is. They're all the same for the orangutans. So I grab his thing, his limb, and I pulled off my arm, and then one of his other three, same spot. I'm like, oh. So he's holding my thing and my wrist.
And is it like human strength? Like,
oh yeah.
Like,
oh yeah. It's human strength.
They're stronger than humans.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah. It was fear factor in a second. For a while, I'm like, yeah, I'm exchanging change and touching shoelaces. Then all of a sudden, this other buddy comes down. And he's like, nope. And he's grabbing my wrist, and I just want to get away. And he's grabbing, and I switch, and he's grabbing, and he switches from leg to foot. I only have 2 to mess with, and he's got 4. So he's going to win that battle.
Yeah.
So I'm grabbing, and all of a sudden he's grabbing, all of a sudden he starts getting more like agitated. He's like, oh, okay. So then I realize he's got my arm, so I take my long sleeve shirt off, and I pull my hand out. Like I put my foot on his shoulder. I'm like, oh, you little bastard. and his girlfriend's like, his girlfriend's sitting like, yeah, we could have had something. I'm like, yeah. So the dude, I mean, the male orangutan has a hold, and I pull my hand out, and I run away, leaving my shirt, and I run down the trail, and the male, I guess, orangutan chases after me like 20 yards, and I thought I was going to die, and I kept running, and he stopped.
You're like reaching for your bag of oranges.
If only I had.
They were there all your life.
Yeah.
But not now.
Yeah, not now. Yeah, so yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so
Jeez.
traveling, oh man, traveling is the best. Traveling, there's so many things in any country you go to. Australia, with there's so much that can kill you in Australia. It's endless,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
When Obi and I, my friend, we bought a car, this piece of shit. And it's kind of like buying it from the Tenderloin. And we bought this car, and we were sleeping in it, and the reverse went out, so we couldn't reverse anywhere.
You're
And
pushing it.
Yeah, we got stuck in the sand and in the dirt, and we were pushing it out one late night, and this guy's driving by. He's like, hey, mate, what the fuck's wrong with you? Like, the car's broken down. He's like, there's a death adder, mate. I'm like, what the fuck's a death adder? And he's like, oh, it's a fucking snake, mate. Like, what? And he's pointing he spots. And my friend and I are pushing this car out of the sand because we didn't have reverse in the dark. And there's this deadly snake where it'll kill you in a minute right there. And it was a short little thing. He's like, yeah, they could jump like 5 feet and bite you. Like, right there.
Holy
Like, dude, you don't know me. I just got in a fight with an orangutan. I'm good. Dude, how long was this trip?
I was gone for about 8 months.
Nice.
Shit.
Yeah. It was I
Thank you.
I wish, again, not about me, but about Americans. I wish that our society promoted more of traveling and seeing other countries, because I think we would be better people if we understand what true poverty looks like.
Yeah.
Like you see poverty here, like, oh my God, they can't make it. No, you go other places where they don't even have an option of a place to sleep. They don't have an option of handouts and this and that, support groups and places and hotels and downtown Half a May you can stay for whatever. Other countries, it's gnarly, and I'm sure you can attest to that traveling on too, right, Gab? Where it's just different.
Yeah. And granted, I went New Zealand, where you also went and had a great time. But and then Fiji, and I only really noticed it in Fiji when we got onto an island, and I was like, whoa, okay, yeah, they're taking some different means, but they're getting by. No, I never really experienced poverty like what you're talking about while traveling.
Nicaragua is I've been in Nicaragua a couple times, and that is very poor. And when you go there, you see like the such little choice of what you can do.
Yeah.
And the oppressiveness of the government, where they choose kind of your choices of what you can do. And that's where I think every time I leave the country, I come back and I think we're so blessed. We're so lucky. We're so spoiled being Americans.
Yeah.
And if you never leave the country, you don't recognize that. You just see it as what it is. Like, this is the way it is. But you go other places and you realize there's people that truly don't have options.
Yeah.
And that's where I think traveling should almost be like a mandatory thing at some age, maybe high school level or
Right before college.
something like that. Yeah.
Well, I'll never forget, because I was scared absolutely shitless to leave, because I was going to be traveling on my own for the first month and a half. And granted, I was going to New Zealand, where everybody's killer, super nice. But it's just scary going to another country on your own, knowing you're going to be on your own, trying to find something. And I remember I was like all in my head for about a month before I left. And then the week, like literally a week to the day before I left, I was always talking to you, but then I went for a ride to kind of clear my mind, and I was coming down through the quarry floor, and you were just happened to finish your ride, and you were sitting at your truck, and you had 2 beers on your tailgate. And I was like, what is PJ doing? And I just walked up to you, and we started talking, and I expressed how I was scared about traveling on my own and all this stuff, and you're like, you're going to be fine. Like, you're going to have the best time. Like, just stick to your guns, be who you are, and you'll be all right. And I had the best time. But I wouldn't have had the best time if I didn't have that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of want to hear, I mean, you were gone for so long, and I feel like you hit so many different spots. How long were you solo through that?
I was solo for about 4 months.
4 months?
Damn.
Okay.
And I made a point of wanting to be solo.
Yeah.
And in Thailand, I didn't want to go to the beaches that everyone goes to and party and this and that. What I did was I went to Chiang Mai and I rented a dirt bike, a 400 XR or whatever it was, a piece of shit. And I had my backpack, and I went into the Golden Triangle, which is where all the opium and all the drugs are created.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what a good idea is just drive around on this dirt bike and go to like little villages. And I went to places where they probably had never seen a white dude on a dirt bike before. I went to this little town, and all these kids came down like I was freaking Brad Pitt or somebody, and they're like, hey, I'm like, hey, go ahead, try and ride this motorcycle. And these kids are like, no, give me that bike. So then I went to the border of Burma to try and go into Burma, and they wouldn't let me because I didn't have my passport, because I had to leave it to get the motorcycle. But this is one moment where I'm I'm a fucking idiot. I went to this little village, and I pulled up with a motorcycle, and all the other villages I've been to are like friendly people, and everyone's nice, and they will give me food. They're just such wonderful people. And this one village I roll up, and there's a lot of rocks, white, painted in a row that dictate which way you go and everything. And I didn't know. And I was like, you know what? I would love to just, weed's legal, by the way. I would love to just like smoke a joint. Just because I've been on this motorcycle for 3-4 days. So I pull up to this little village and I roll up, and this is how dumb I am, American style. I pull up to this village and I roll up, and out comes these guys, and they're wearing military pants. Didn't dawn on me. I'm like, hey, yeah, hey. Like, oh yeah, come on. They're super nice. I'm like, hey, and I make the reference of like smoking. Like, and they look at me like, okay, yeah, come on in. And so I go into this, they invite me in.
My God.
Yeah, this like big communal place where there's a bunch of dudes in camouflage pants. It dawned on me. I'm like, yeah, like, hey, like, yeah, okay. And they're like looking at me. And so then this one big guy comes out, and he gives me a cigar. And that was when my dumbass realized, like, these are the guys that are patrolling the Golden Triangle for drugs.
Yeah.
And I'm going into their little village saying,
Yeah.
hey, can I get like just a little joint, just like chill out? He gives me, oh my God, he gives me the cigar. I was like,
Oh, this is what I was looking for.
Totally.
Thank God. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, you idiot.
Now you help. Here's your pants. Your bag of oranges.
We Americans, we're so smart.
Yep.
Yeah, I had a different experience. It was just throwing hundreds trying to get into bars in Munich.
How'd that work out for you?
Great. It was a blast. Didn't see a single orangutan.
Did you get some orange?
All right. Well, we're departing that topic. We're switching it up again, back to some teaching stuff. But I feel like with, I mean, you've touched on it a little bit, but we're in a small town. Pros and cons of being a teacher in a small town. I mean, yeah, I mean, take us through it, because I know it can be painful at times. I mean, you're talking about interactions that you might not necessarily want to have, or students or parents might not want to have. But yeah, I don't know. Pros and cons.
So, to anybody thinking about teaching in their town, here's a word of advice. You have to almost live a dual life, sort of. It depends on your personality type. I live a life where I let my students probably know more about me. It's a small town, and because it's such a small town, I know a lot of the students, and so I see their dads at the same events, and we're all drinking beer, and we're all having fun, we're all laughing. So there's that. But over the years, you get to know so many people. I know this sounds arrogant, but it's almost like you're famous. And if you ask me, would you want to be famous? Never in my life would I ever say yes. Never. I would never want to be a movie star. I would never want any of that. But the fact is, I can't shop at Safeway in downtown Half Moon Bay without seeing people coming up to me and saying stuff, or their parents saying stuff, or kids seeing me and either running up and saying something or turning around and running away. And it's a very strange thing. And I remember I was dating a girl years ago, and she also became a teacher. She's like, why the hell would you want to be a teacher in your little town? Because everyone's going to know you and everyone's going to know you're dirt. And it's true. But in class, I am who I am. I don't lie. I'm not a hypocrite. I'm who I am. And I think the students understand that. So when they see me with a beer at, say, at the old Princeton Landing watching a show, they're not surprised because I'm just who I am. I'm not breaking a law. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not a bad person. And so it's a tough line to walk, because if I was a teacher in someone else's town, I could just disappear.
Yeah.
I can just do my thing and come home, and I could just be nobody. I could be on this podcast right now and tell you some really gnarly stories, but I can't because I'm a teacher in this town. And if I were to say some things, I could lose my job. I could have parents coming after me. I could have students looking at me the wrong way. And that's the part about being a teacher in a small town, is you have to be conscientious of that the whole time. And that's a really tough thing for me to do, because I'm not very organized in my brain sometimes to do that. But I also feel, back to my stories of growing up with teachers I didn't really aspire to, I want to give something back to kids, and they be stoked on going to school. And in a small town, I see so many kids of parents that I know. Like I've had all of you in my class, all of you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's what I love, where it's just this community thing, and that's what I'm all about, is like kind of perpetuating the coast-side life.
Yeah.
And some students understand it, and some students are born into it, like you are. You know, you're all locals. Your parents are locals. They brought you up that way. You know, you might break laws here and there, whether it be riding motorcycles or growing weed or whatever it is, but we never hurt people. We're not negative. We're just coast-siders.
Yep.
And I think that's something to be said about why so many people want to live here. Is people spend millions of dollars to buy a house here, and then they get here and they don't really understand it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's huge, that there is a lot of people coming from the outside that don't understand what it was like to grow up here and be born into this kind of little ecosystem that we have, right?
I think it's kind of a crazy thing. It's weird to think about now that I was once your student in 6th grade. Is a long time ago, and we're friends now. I can genuinely call you a good friend of mine.
Same.
And that is, it's a crazy thing. But do you expect that to happen like more often, or is that just kind of like, I don't know, we just happen to be in the right circle type of thing going on? I mean, and clearly you most likely have relationships with past students outside of the classroom, but I don't know. It's an interesting topic for any teacher, especially one that is so involved with the community and grew up here and everything like that.
I love the fact that I can see students and I don't recognize them because they're adults. And I feel bad because I never remember the name. Like, hey, Mr. Monica, I'm like, sorry, what's your name? And they're adults. Like, hey, can I buy you a beer? I'm like, what? you were in my 6th grade social studies class. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm 23. I'm like, holy shit, I'm old.
Been at it for a while.
Yeah. So I think the relationship thing is, every teacher has it. I promote students to come back and say hello. I promote students to come share their stories with me or with the class. Actually, I think that's important to have older students, especially like, with my story of like not being that A or B student. I was a C or D student, and hearing these stories of yeah, maybe you were a failure in Cunha, but here I am now making, and I always laugh. I tell my classes like, yeah, one of my friends, he does Mavericks movies, and he makes more than me. And then there's this other guy, Sean, and he runs this construction company. He makes triple what I do, and they didn't do well in school. And it's not the point. Like, it's
Yeah.
it's it's your choices in life.
It's the drive.
It's the drive. Yeah, and I think that's super important. I think that school isn't for everybody, and I know teachers aren't supposed to say that to students, but it's not for everybody. But for people that are struggling, like I did, don't count yourself out. Eventually, you can figure out the game. It's just a game. You figure out like, oh, I can do this and that. I can say this to the teacher, and you get an A, and that's the reality of it. And then,
Yep.
like I have a sign in my room. It says school is practice for life, and I believe in that. And where, kids have to be on time for somewhere, so do their parents. Kids have to turn some stuff in, so do their parents. Kids have to listen to their boss, which is me or a teacher, so do their parents. It's the same thing.
Yep.
So it's just practice for dealing with that when you're older. And so the sooner you realize that, it's better for you all.
And when you become an adult and you realize that taxes are just like the shitty assignment you've been putting off.
So real quick question. I think as an educator moving forward, a big issue that I see even as a parent is the cell phones and the amount of time that people spend on the phone and just swiping. And I noticed that day to day in the classroom where kids are very insecure working in groups. They struggle with communication with others. And I'm curious, again, with, let's say you have kids in the future, at what age do you think you would give your kids a cell phone, and how much access to social media would you give them?
I think, honestly, it's one of those things where like I understand the reason why the age kept on getting lower and lower and lower. Because when we were growing up, I mean, I got a cell phone and
Cell phone as in
flip
phone.
No, flip phone.
Call, text.
Yeah, I got a flip phone, call, text, and I think when I got to middle school, I got a flip phone.
I got
Like,
one.
it was like,
yeah, for freshmen.
yeah, it was like 6th grade. Got a flip phone. I didn't have a smartphone until I think 8th grade or freshman year. Oh no, also not an iPhone family. So just like not like
This guy ruins every group chat, dude.
but I think there is a point when it comes to kids nowadays where it's like they get like the Apple Watches, so it's like it's like not it's not a phone, but the parents like know where they are, and the parents can like call and text and be like, where the fuck are you? And I think that's like a valid thing. That's smart, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But giving a kid unrestricted access to everything out there on a smartphone, honestly, like I feel like it's got to be like 7th, 8th grade before you are able to get your digits on that.
Yeah, I mean,
because sixth grade, you're still so young.
Yeah, so young.
Yeah,
like no. Claire and I have both already kind of had the conversation. Funny enough, no, we like. I don't know, a little biased, but I think that the way that my parents did it with Morgan and I is pretty fair. Like you're saying, 5th grade graduation, you get your call, text sort of phone.
Communication.
Just
basics.
communication. Just so that you can be like, hey, streetlights are on. I might not be home, but I'm here.
Yep.
Sort of deal. And then 8th grade graduation, going into freshman year, was when I got a smartphone.
Yeah.
And I feel like I was pretty smooth, honestly.
Yeah.
I feel like Like I had the friends that had already had the smartphones and showed me the gnarly stuff that like, you know, they're Cliff Notes. They were browsing on the web and they found some cool shit and they're like, check this out. I'm like, okay, so that's the web. But I feel like when you get into high school, you're almost better at filtering what's coming through your phone. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think
Or worse.
yeah, I know for sure. But like if you're watching a cartel video in middle school, you're like, fuck, these guys are everywhere.
Yeah.
Screwed. And
Yeah,
then you watch a cartel video in high school and you're like, okay, they're only in Mexico. Allegedly.
Ian, what about you?
Yeah.
I had so long to sit here and think about it. I have no idea because I'm probably the worst. Like I have to limit my time on my phone, so I won't just sit and scroll. But I also think I would want my kids to have like the coolest shit, like as soon as they can. So I don't know. I'm not an adult. So I guess probably like, yeah, I don't know. Whenever the other kids are like, as soon as they come home and they're like, oh, dude, you know, this kid got an iPhone, I'd be like, all right, cool, let's go get you one.
So here's a little thing I gotta share. In my class, I ask all my classes this. I said, okay, when I was your age, they didn't have internet. They didn't have anything. They didn't have social media. They didn't have anything. And I said, so you have all this at your fingertips. If you could choose to rid yourselves of social media, of the phone with the camera that you can video people doing stupid things, if you could rid yourself of the internet, would you? And I ask all my classes this, and what do you think the percentage of people saying they wish they could?
Oh God, I feel like you get like 1 or 2 per class that says no.
No, or you
you get 1 or 2 per class that says like yes, they would get rid of it.
Yeah, they
1 or 2% saying they get rid of it.
Yeah.
What about you, Ian?
Yeah, I was thinking like very small amount saying they
I'm
would
right
get rid
there.
of it. Yeah.
1 or 2.
You know what? It's a majority of the kids that say they wish they can get rid of it.
No way.
Really?
Yes.
Yes.
Every single class I ask, it's always around 52 to 54, like, percent of the students wish they didn't have social media, they didn't have internet, they didn't have the phone, they didn't have that.
Yeah.
That like pressure on them. And it's amazing because I don't think adults or parents recognize that, and I don't even think they recognize it. Like, dude, you're addicted. This is your first addiction in your life. Like, hey, people are addicted to drugs, alcohol, porn, whatever it is you're addicted to. You're addicted to phone, and this is your first addiction. And I don't think enough is being done by schools or whatever you want to call it in a societal way of saying, hey, this is your first addiction. This is a big problem. How do we address it?
How are you going to deal with it?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge thing. And I think right now, parents just assume it's done at the school.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, Johnny can't use his phone at school. But it's bigger than that because Johnny just sits on his phone from 3:45 till 11 o'clock at night. Jeez. So what does that do for him? And it's amazing that I thought the same thing as you guys. Like the students be say, no, I love it, I want it. Nope.
Yeah.
Majority of the students, every single class, every single time say, wish it was gone.
And that's where I think it's an interesting age where Gavin and I grew up in it, where we were in middle school when like Instagram came out and like all of this like social media really hit your phone. Like Gavin and I were getting smartphones like in that era, and it is kind of a crazy era where it's like we're not super into it when it comes to all of this like, I don't know, whatever viral stuff. But then again, we're not out of it, and it's an interesting medium to be in because pretty much anybody younger than us is like way more phone based and just like on the screen. And not to say that I don't have an issue fucking just whatever, doom scrolling, every once in a while. But yeah, it's a crazy time, especially because pretty much anybody younger than us is in that category of like they've had it ever since they just grew up with that, and with that being the norm.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you with the podcast thing and trying to grow the podcast, like started looking into how algorithms work in social media. Then you kind of have to be like on our Between Shifts podcast page, you kind of have to be on top of your stuff in the means of posting daily or having a story daily and liking and commenting on stupid shit. But it's just like, I don't know. Like David saying, I find myself doom scrolling sometimes. Everybody does it. But it's hard to just associate that with something different now, because you get stuck in this little world of scrolling on Instagram. And then, like you're saying, we're able to we grew up in the times where it was kind of 50-50. Like the older class above us was into social media, whereas everybody behind us, including us, didn't really have it at the beginning. But now it's kind of hitting, and it's like,
Born into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We're like still figuring it out, and I don't like it with this, but if you want to grow a page or like a business now,
Yep.
a lot of it relies on social media. And to grow that business page on social media, like you look at Morgan and you look at Brian with OPL.
Dude, and bike work, I'm the one that does the Bike Works Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm fucking terrible at it. I'm so bad. And it's just because I'm not like, I could be so much better at it, but I just see it as, I see it as a pain, honestly. Like it's not something that I want to do, just to be like posting all the time and like upkeeping the schedule of just like throwing shit out there. And it's like, it's something that's like somewhat a nuisance to me. And I just want to like get one of these fucking 16, 17-year-old kids on the coast and be like, here's the Bikeworks Instagram. Don't post anything heinous. Just fucking keep content coming.
Well, a good thing that through my research that I found that you can do, like that I do weekly with the Between Shifts stuff, is you can schedule.
Yeah.
If you have time on a Saturday or a Sunday, you can sit there and make these little posts, and you can schedule it to come out Monday. You can schedule it to come out Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Because they, I don't know who the fuck they are, but when you're researching this shit, they say that you want to stay in people's ears. And I'm sure we get annoying at times, but like, it's because I spend most of my Sunday morning making little clips from this episode. Like I'll go through and cut interesting shit like an orangutan fight from your episode. I'll cut it, I'll put it in, and I'll schedule it as a reel on Instagram. And
Can I ask you another question, real quick, because it's getting late. Right now, 70% of the kids, teenagers, when they're asked what they want to do when they grow up, you know what they say?
Influencer.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Same.
let's just say that, back to my horrible story of you having your kids, male or female, it doesn't matter, but your kids, and they grow up middle school to high school level thinking that's what they want to do for their profession. How would you approach that, Ian? How would you approach like your kid or saying that that's what they want to do?
That's hard because at the same time, I always looked at it and I'm like, there is a lot of influencers and people do make money doing it. And it's got to be just as hard to become a firefighter, right? It's hard to count that out and tell someone that they can't have that dream. And it's not for everyone. But in the end of it all, you kind of figure out what you want to do. I mean, I didn't want to be an elevator mechanic from the time I was a child, right? It was always something else, and you kind of find your place eventually, right? So it is kind of hard for me to think like, just tell them no, that's not feasible, because I just don't think I'd ever want to tell someone that they can't do something. But I don't know, maybe that's a weird way of looking at it. What do you guys think?
it's one of those where you can be like, that's great, fucking, that sounds awesome. Keep your options open, like I don't know, because in this day and age, it's like be supportive, and so it's I don't know, but then again, like, would I want son or daughter at 15 years old, like, putting their life out there on social media? Like, no, like, that's stupid,
But that's what it takes.
but that's what it takes, and that's stupid.
We're also 25 to 30 age now.
Yeah.
And we're also putting our lives out on the internet. So
Yeah, and do I have qualms with part of that? Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it's like my brother. He's 27 and he's never had any sort of social media. I mean, he's just you can't find him anywhere on the web. He's just not there, and it's pretty uncommon for somebody his age.
That's me.
Yeah, and I envy that 100%. It's getting to the point where it's like, God damn it, like, he's cool because of that.
No, I think that if my kid wanted to be an influencer in middle school, I honestly think that I would say something along the lines of, that's cool, but you should have higher priorities before that. Because I think that if you go into something that you want to study in college or a trade that you want to get into, I think if you get into that and you're not enjoying it, then maybe rely back onto the whole influencer thing and show the side of the trade that people, or the side of the degree that people don't normally see. But I think that they should definitely have something as a higher priority than just being an influencer.
you pretty much explained just what we do.
Yeah. Between shifts. They
Between
should
shifts.
definitely be like between shifts, whatever that means.
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for sticking with us to this point. If you're watching on YouTube, we had the camera cut out about halfway through the episode, and ultimately we ended up having some issues with the audio and lost a couple of the questions, but we're going to do a quick recap. And
It was definitely our most technical issues episode. Ran into quite a few issues.
luckily we got most of the good stories and questions out of the way in the beginning, so
Yeah, you guys still got most of the episode, but we just wanted to hop on, inform you about that, and then do our little recap on the episode to talk about the episode with PJ.
he makes me want to travel.
Oh, I know.
Great stories.
Such great stories.
Yeah, the story about the orangutans was by far my favorite.
Yeah,
From
so
the-
crazy.
That he was wishing he had a bag of oranges at that point.
Yeah, well, just crazy how it seemed like the orangutans were just kind of toying with him. Even the male one that came down and grabbed his wrist, like, those things are way stronger than that. They were grabbing his wrist. If they really wanted to, it could just completely ruin him. And it just was toying with him, and then he had to peel off his shirt and run away.
I just feel like all of PJ's stories are just like, I wouldn't believe them if anybody told them except for PJ.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they're just such PJ stories.
Just nearly escaping everything, going in and asking like military police for
Yeah.
Yeah, just also so
so
random, so many random things that just add to who he is. It's just so funny. Like
Yep.
like we always go on little PJ's grand adventures.
Yeah.
And you never know what you're going to get on these adventures. You never know if he's taking you to a cool outhouse with a great view, or if he's taking you to like the flagging stand at Laguna Seca that he just stumbled upon.
It's funny. Also, I feel like every guest, every single person who doesn't want to be a firefighter when they grow up. It's so funny. I feel like that's just like every single kid. They're like, I want to be a firefighter.
Yeah, I was one of those kids.
I think I was too.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yep.
Yeah, everyone wants to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got time.
And hearing about how he got into teaching, it just seems like he got into teaching for all the right reasons.
Yeah.
Like he didn't really respect how he was brought up in schools, so he wanted to be the change. And that's cool. I feel like that should be more drive.
Well,
That should be the common theme with teachers.
and I think there's a huge reason why, like, I don't know, he was such a cool teacher when I had him. I mean, you definitely get that as a student of his, where you can see that he's coming at teaching from a different angle, because he's not your typical, I don't know, definitely not your typical teacher.
Yeah, and we all three had him as a substitute, or you guys had him longer term, but
Yeah.
we all three had him as an educator at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, he's not just like the fun teacher either. He
No.
he just has different ways to get through to you, and it's fun. Those are the teachers that you remember later in life.
And I like his saying that he had. He has a sign in the class that says, "School is practice for real life,"
Yeah. Yep.
or something along those lines. It
Try-
was something
translate.
similar to that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Just trying to prepare the kids for grown-up life.
yeah. And let's bring back home ec.
Yeah, seriously.
Jeez.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Huge loss.
Huge loss.
Yeah.
That and shop class. That's like a real reason
Yeah.
why I got into where I'm at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why they would ever get rid of those classes. So, just like
Monumental in the building.
Yeah,
of my,
just
like
forms who you
Yeah.
are and like teaches you the love that you can have to work with your hands or to cook something or to learn how to knit, learn how to sew, all these little things that we used to cherish so much in life, like our grandparents did. And now it just feels kind of like it's fading out.
just life skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Life skills.
Life skills. Being able to take care of yourself, like when no one else is going to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you don't feel stranded. Cool. All right.
Well, that's our recap. We apologize for the technical difficulties that we had this episode. Yeah, that's it. We're the Between Shifts signing off.
Peace.
See you guys next week. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Once again, we're brought to you by BikeWorks HMB, your one-stop shop for bike service, sales, and rentals in Half Moon Bay, California. Whether you're on the mountain, road, or low on battery, BikeWorks HMB has your back. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help support this podcast, please feel free to reach out to us at betweenshiftspod@gmail.com. The link will be in the description. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. GT signing off.